Unpack the package. Lift the package with a crane or pallet truck, and place 2 thick wooden beams under it, so that the brackets come off the ground. Loosen the bolts from the packing brackets and remove the bolts, 4 on one side. The top 2 on the other side. Take the top runway off the package. That is the runway with the cylinder and is mounted on the left side. Ramps. The cross beams, 1 front and 1 rear. Make sure that the lock always points outwards. Place the crossbars on wooden beams. Column 1. Front right has a mounting plate for the contrail box. Column 2, rear right, has a small hole at the top and bottom. Columns 3 and 4 come out on the left with the lock pointing upward. Loosen the last 2 screws of the brackets. Remove the guide blocks from the crossbeam. Slide the column around the crossbeam, and mount the guide blocks by sliding the blocks down the column. Fit the cover plate with the 2 Allen screws. Do this with all columns. Large box with motor, cable wheels, cover caps, plates and brackets for the engine box. Small box with various bolts. Mounting blocks for the ramps. Electrical box. Remove the packing brackets, they are no longer used. The cross beams into the 4th lock, at a height of approximately 60 centimeters. Lay the runway with the cylinder on the left side of the cross beams. Turn the empty runway and place it on the right side on the cross beams. Make sure that the angles on which the oil catch plates rest point towards each other. Various bolts. Now mount the motor box, the metal box on the back of the lift, where the motor will be placed. Now first pull out the cylinder, so that the cables become longer. Guide the cables out of the runway. Make sure that the cables are properly routed around the cable wheels, and that the good cables are around the correct wheels. Top, bottom, bottom. The cable runs over the small wheel, under the large wheel to the top of the column, where it is fixed with the 2 large nuts. Screw in the bolt, 17mm wrench, under into the runway. They make sure that the cable can't get out of the cable wheel. Slide the large bolts, wrench size 22, from the inside out through the runway and crossbeams. With these bolts, the engine box is also mounted on the back of the crossbar. The ramp mounting brackets are also mounted at the front with these bolts. Hang up ramps with the pins. Bolts with nuts, wrench 17mm, through the crossbar. These ensure that the cable cannot run off the wheel. Do this on all 4 corners. Remove the motor unit from the packaging and place it in the motor box. Place the electrical box next to it. Lay the motor with the junction box facing up. Open the junction box and fit the connecting wires. Yellow-green is ground to a Phillips head screw in the housing. U1 and U2 for the other 2 wires. Turn the motor so that it stands on its feet and secure it with the 4 screws with a 14mm wrench. Remove the 17mm nut from the lowering valve coil. Open the terminal block. Feed the wire through the block. Connect the wires across the resistor and the LED. Reassemble the coil with the 17mm nut. Connecting the locks. This is the packaging marked S. It consists of 2 long wires, one with T-piece and one with equal ends. Two lead wires for this also come from the electrical box. One short with 2 male plugs. It goes to the right, and one long one with a T. It runs to the left, that is, the left side of the bridge. Route the cables from the engine box over the crossbeam through the runway. Pull the wires through the available space in the corners to the other side of runway. Take the wires from the locking solenoids, run them over the crossbars, under the runway, and connect them to the connectors there. On the motor side, pass the cables through the hole in the side of the metal housing, and connect the cables. Connect the left wire from the electrical box and the solenoid to the T, and connect the correct wire with a T from the electrical box to the solenoid and the long wire. The connecting wires for the slack cable protection. Packaging with an L written on it. This consists of 3 wires, 2 long and 1 short. From the electrical box comes a short wire with a male connection and a female connection. The 3 wires together form a closed circuit. If the wire is interrupted, the bridge will stop lowering. Feed these wires through the lanes, and through the special pipes on the crossbeams. Take the control box, and open it by unscrewing the 4 screws. Take a picture with your phone of the connected wires so that you can reconnect them later without any problems. Disconnect the 5 wires. Mount the rear to the mounting plate on the column. Feed the 5-wire cable from the electrical box, through the hole in the metal engine box, over the crossbeam, under the runway, out of the hole on the side, to the bottom of the control box. Pass the wire through the nipple and reconnect according to your photo. Reassemble the front with the 4 screws. Check that the hydraulic hose runs freely and does not touch the cables. Through the hole in the side of the track and over the cross member. Through the hole in the side of the engine case to the engine. Tighten the nipples on the cylinder and engine. Note that the power group 16C, slow, must be fused. Connect a 220 volt connection cable. The ground yellow-green is P. Blue and brown go to L1 and N. Fill the oil reservoir with 10 liters of hydraulic oil, with a viscosity of 46. Plug it into the socket. Turn the key and the light will come on. Press the up button until the lift has risen a few centimeters and hangs in its cables. Tighten the locking control bolts, not too tight. Check that the lock releases far enough. The block should be approximately horizontal. If this is not the case, you must loosen the bolt and turn it further, clockwise, into the knee coupling. It then becomes shorter and can pull the lock further free. Now measure whether all corners are the same height from the ground. You can adjust this by tightening the large nuts on top of the columns. Installing the limit switches. Open the switch and disconnect the wires. Note how it is connected. Take a picture so that you can reassemble it properly later. Mount the switch on the cover with the 4 holes. Reconnect the wires. The 2-core cable goes to the top switch, and the 4 wires on the bottom. Take the 2 long bolts, wrench 10 mm, and mount it in the holes in the column on the right rear. Tighten the block of the slack cable protection so that, when the lift hangs in the cables, it always presses the switch. Press the up button, and the lift will raise until the limit switch has reached the stop bolt, or you stop at the desired height, by releasing the button. Once the lift has stopped, lower it into the lock with the white lock down 2 button. The lift sinks into the lock and can thus remain in place for a long time.